Parshat Yitro 57:81. Yehi Ratzon Limud Shabila Refuat Kol HaCholim B'Tocham Tani Batod Magalit Yosef Yair Ben Aviv Chava Harav Sivan Ben Sima B'Toch Kol Shar Cholei Yisrael. In Parshat Yitro B'Siyata Dishmaya, we get to the moment that really changed history forever. The moment that Hashem brings a direct link that will be everlasting in the world. Because we have a lot of things that are indirect connecting us to Hashem, mitzvot and davening, but the Sefer Torah is the only thing that is a direct link. And it's very important to realize that the introduction to this is the story of Yitro. And there are a lot of answers and a lot of ideas why the story of Yitro is the introduction. But at the beginning of the parsha, it says, Vayishma Yitro, that it says that he heard. And the Torah says that he heard about Yetziat Mitzrayim. And so in a weird way, although the pasuk is so clear, it says Vayishma Yitro, the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim. Rashi asks a very, very weird question. Ma shmu'a shama veba. Asks Rashi, what caused Yitro to come? And obviously it's a weird question because the pasuk says it explicitly. He heard about Yetziat Mitzrayim. So it says Rashi, Ma shmu'a shama veba kriyat Yamsuf u'milchemet Amalek. The story that caused him to come was Kriyat Yamsuf and Milchemet Amalek. So obviously first the question of Rashi is difficult because the pasuk seems to be simple. But not only is that difficult, but also the answer is difficult because the Torah says he came because of Yetziat Mitzrayim. And Rashi, coming from the Midrash, says no. The reason that Yitro came was because of Kriyat Yamsuf and the Milchama against Amalek. So, Morinu Rabbeinu, Piasetzna Rebbe, he asks both these questions, and he gives probably one of the most important insights into really understanding what is the introduction to really understanding what learning Torah is all about. And he says, listen, Rashi knows that the reason that he came to Judaism was because of Yetziat Mitzrayim. Baruch Hashem, in a week and a half, our Orei Tani is going to be putting on tefillin. We've been learning a lot about how the tefillin is Zecher Yetziat Mitzrayim. Many, many things in Judaism, like Shabbat, also a lot of different things are connected to Yetziat Mitzrayim. So we know that really what the pasuk is teaching us is why did Yitro join Am Yisrael? Why did he decide to convert? Because of Yetziat Mitzrayim. It says the Piasetzna Rebbe, Rashi's not asking what caused him to come to Judaism. He's asking what caused Yitro to leave his comfort, leave his house, and come all the way out into the desert, into the heat of whatever they were there, let's say it's 43 Celsius. What caused him not only to come to Judaism, but to decide that in order to come to Judaism, he needs to come all the way out into the desert to become a part of their story. Says Rashi, the answer to that question, what caused him to come to the Midbar, was the story of Kriyat Yamsuf and Milchemet Amalek. And so, what were the difference between Yetziat Mitzrayim and these two stories? Yetziat Mitzrayim was the story of a god against a god. It was a story of Paro, who thought he was a god, against Hashem, who's the real God, coming at each other, fighting against each other. If you look in the Torah, it's very clear that the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim is, who is Hashem? Okay, so that's Yetziat Mitzrayim. But then what did we need Kriyat Yamsuf for? What did we need the whole story of Milchemet Amalek? And teaches us the Piasetzna Rebbe that those two stories were very different. They were not about who is the God. They were about what is this nation? What is new? What is different about these people? How are they unique? How are they special? And the answer to that question is that the Kriyat Yamsuf, we already knew that God was God. And we already knew that Paro wasn't the God. But what we didn't know is, what do we do with this? What do we do with this understanding? How does the fact that you believe in Hashem transform to the way you live your life? Okay, a lot of people are like, oh, I believe in God, I get God, but how does that translate? How does that become relevant to the way you live? And so the answer, when we look in also Milchemet Amalek, is right before the war. It says that Am Yisrael said, Hayesh Hashem bekirbeinu im ayin. The question they were asking was not, is there a God? They didn't say Hayesh Hashem. They knew there's a God. Hayesh Hashem bekirbeinu. Is he in us? Does it have an impact on our being, on our identity, on the time that we wake up, on the time that we go to sleep, on the words that we say, and the things that we don't say? That was the war that Amalek was coming. They were fighting against the relevance of what it means to believe in God. They also knew that there was a God. But the implication of believing in a God, that it empowers a person to demand of himself, to live differently. That was the story of Yam Suf. That Yam Suf was saying, we need to act differently. I don't want to hear now about your davening. I don't want you to believe in God. That's not my question. My question is, if you believe in God, are you able to act on that? And same thing with Milchemet Amalek. Okay, so Moshe Rabbeinu is with his hands up and you believe in God. But are you using your hands in combat because of that? Are you utilizing the message to change your mundane, to change your life, to change your decisions? And so says the Piyasetzner Rebbe, Mashmua Shama Veba. The question is, why did he come to the desert? Why didn't he send one of his Kohanim to convert him and learn about Judaism and bring it back to Midian? Because he realized that the new idea of Am Yisrael was not about believing in God, but it was about believing that if you believe in God, you have to believe in yourself. That believing in God is not about looking upwards. It's about utilizing inward. It's about squeezing the energy that's within you. It's about understanding that learning Torah is not about looking at God to solve, but it's about Hashem saying to you, if I gave you this, then you can do anything. You can go anywhere. And even if you're in the desert, you can bring the Torah to the world. And there are many deserts. There are many places that are desolate, that are broken, that are shattered. And the secret of the Torah is that it's given in the desert to remind us that the message is not to believe in God, but to believe in us, that we could elevate a person that's living like a desert. We could elevate ourselves in moments that we feel dry, that we feel empty. And that's the question of Rashi. Not what did Yitro do to convert, but what was Yitro teaching us about what it means to learn Torah. To learn Torah means to live it. It means to understand that if Hashem gave you a diamond ring, you are a diamond. And if you're a diamond, stop enslaving yourself to thinking you can only do this here or you can only do it there. You can do it anywhere. And that's why Yitro has to come to the desert. Because of the concept of Kriya Yam Suf, that we can travel. And the idea of Milchemet Amalek, that we can fight. And not only to believe in Hashem like Yetziat Mitzrayim, but to recognize that believing in Hashem is not the end. It's the beginning of the journey that enables you to realize that if you believe in Hashem, because He believes in you, then the translation of that is that there are no boundaries to the abilities and concepts that you could transform in the world. Shabbat Shalom.